Hello everyone, welcome back to HarshiLearn. In today's video, we are going to understand how .NET code actually executes. So, whenever we write a C# program and run it, we directly see the output, correct? But internally, the code doesn't execute immediately. It goes through multiple steps before it becomes something that machine can understand. So, in this video, I'll explain the complete flow from C# source code to machine code step by step. Now, let's understand what happens when we run a .NET program. At first, we write our code in C Sharp, which is called source code. When we build or run the program, this code goes through compilation, where it is converted into intermediate language, and it is also known as IL code. Okay, then this IL code is packaged into something called an assembly, which includes additional information like metadata. And finally, during execution, this IL code is converted into machine code using JIT compilation and then the program runs. Okay, so even though it looks like the program runs directly, internally it goes through these steps before producing the output. Okay, in the next slides, we'll understand each of these steps in more detail. Let's start with the first step, which is a source code. This is the code we as developers write in C Sharp. Okay. For example, we have written a simple program here. It will print hello world. Okay. This code is easy for us to read and understand. Correct. But the system cannot execute this directly because computers only understand machine level instruction. So we need a way to convert this into something executable. This is where C Sharp compiler comes into the picture. When you build your project, the compiler processes your source code. So, during this process, it performs few important tasks. Means it checks for syntax errors, it validates the structure of the code, and then it converts the code into intermediate language, also called IL. Okay. One important thing to understand here is the compiler doesn't generate machine code at this stage. Instead, it generates IL, which is an intermediate form of your code. Okay, now let's understand what is IL. IL stands for Intermediate Language. So, this is a platform independent code, which means it is not tied to any specific operating system or hardware. Because of this, the same IL code can run on any system that has a compatible .NET runtime. So, this is one of the key reasons why .NET applications are portable. Once the code is compiled into IL, it is packaged into something called an assembly. Okay. So these assemblies are the output files of your projects like .exe files and .dll files. An assembly contains three main things mainly the IL code and the metadata, which gives information about classes, methods, and properties, and a manifest means which contains details like versions, dependencies, and identity. So basically, the assembly holds everything required to run your program. Now, when you run your application, the assembly is loaded by the CLR, which stands for Common Language Runtime. So, the CLR is a runtime environment of .NET and it plays a very important role. So, it is responsible for executing your code, managing memory using garbage collection, handling exceptions, and enforcing security. You can think of CLR as an engine that runs your .NET applications. Now comes the final step before execution, JIT compilation. So, JIT stands for Just-in-Time Compiler. So, the IL code stored in the assembly is not directly executed. Instead, when the program runs, the JIT compiler converts IL into native machine code, but only when it is required. Okay, this means only the methods that are actually used are compiled, and the compilation happens at runtime. And the generated machine code is optimized for the system where it is running. So, this improves performance and efficiency. So, if we summarize the entire flow, we write code in C Sharp, then the compiler converts it into intermediate language, then the IL code is stored in an assembly, then CLR loads and manages execution, Then JIT converts IL into machine code. And finally, the program runs and produces output. Okay, so this is how .NET program executes internally. Even though it looks simple from outside, there are multiple steps involved to make the execution efficient, secure, and platform independent. So, understanding this flow is very important because it helps you to understand how .NET works internally. Okay, that's it for today. I hope this gave you a clear understanding of how .NET programs actually runs behind the scenes. So if you found this helpful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to HarshiLearn for more simple and easy to understand .NET content. And also feel free to drop your questions in the comments. I'll definitely check out them. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.